I used to think cooking was easy. You just turn on the stove, throw some food in a pan, move things around for a few minutes, and somehow a perfect meal appears. That was my understanding of cooking. And honestly, I blame the internet, because online, every cooking video looks simple. The chef smiles, soft music plays in the background, and in less than 60 seconds, they turn 3 random ingredients into a 5-star meal. So one morning, I woke up feeling inspired and dangerously confident. I looked in the mirror and thought, you know what? Today is the day. Today, I stop eating cereal like a confused college student. Today, I become a chef. Not a normal chef, a legend. My plan was simple. Make breakfast, just eggs and toast. That's it. No fancy sauce, no complicated recipe, no unnecessary risks, just a calm, peaceful, normal breakfast. That was the plan. The first red flag appeared when I realized I had no idea where the frying pan was. I opened one cabinet, nothing. Second cabinet, nothing. Third cabinet, plastic containers, lids with no containers, containers with no lids, one mysterious bowl I had never seen before in my life. After 5 full minutes of searching, I found the pan in the oven, which in my opinion is not where pans should live, but whatever. I had the pan, I had the eggs, I had the confidence, and that was enough to begin my downfall. I put the pan on the stove and turned the heat on. Now, I didn't know what heat level to use, so naturally I picked the highest one, because in my mind, higher heat meant faster cooking, and faster cooking meant better chef. That logic felt solid at the time. Then I reached for the oil. The cooking videos always say the same thing. Add a little oil. What does that even mean? A little to who? A little to a professional chef? A little to a normal person? A little to someone who has never cooked anything in his life? So I guessed. And by guessed, I mean I poured enough oil to make that pan look like a small swimming pool. At that point, I should have stopped. But no, I was committed. Then came the egg. This was the moment. The main event. I picked up the egg like it was the final boss of breakfast. I tapped it gently on the side of the pan. Nothing happened, so I hit it harder. Big mistake. The egg exploded. And when I say exploded, I mean the shell shattered, the yolk slipped through my fingers, and somehow the egg ended up everywhere except inside the pan. There was egg on the counter, egg on the stove, egg on my hand, egg on the floor, and somehow egg on my shirt. I still don't fully understand that part, but I refused to panic because real chefs stay calm under pressure. So I grabbed another egg. This time I told myself, be smooth, be controlled, be professional. I cracked it more carefully, and yes, the egg made it into the pan. Unfortunately, so did half the shell. But at that point, I decided shells were just part of the experience. Extra texture, crunch, innovation. Then I realized I had forgotten the toast, so now I was managing 2 separate disasters at the same time. I put bread in the toaster, turned back to the pan, and immediately knew something was wrong. The eggs were cooking way too fast. One side was burning, the other side was somehow still raw, and the oil was making loud, aggressive noises like it was personally offended by my presence. I tried to fix it by grabbing a spatula, but instead of flipping the egg, I launched it. The entire egg flew into the air for one beautiful second like I was on a cooking show, and then it landed folded in on itself like a sad breakfast taco. At this point, smoke started rising from the pan. Not a lot of smoke, just enough smoke to let me know that my confidence had officially exceeded my skill level. Then I smelled something else, the toast. I turned around and opened the toaster. The bread had transformed into 2 black rectangles, not toast, charcoal. If I pressed those pieces together, I probably could have made a diamond. Now the kitchen smelled like burnt egg, burnt bread, and regret. And somehow I still believed I could save breakfast. That's the crazy part. There's a moment during every disaster where a person should step back and accept defeat. I did not have that moment. Instead, I decided the meal just needed seasoning. So I grabbed the salt, and this is where things got disrespectful. I tried to add a tiny bit, just a little, but the lid was loose. The entire top came off, and suddenly my eggs were buried under a mountain of salt. It looked less like breakfast and more like an archaeological site. I stood there in silence for a few seconds, staring at the pan, trying to understand how things had gone so wrong so quickly. And then the fire alarm went off, loud, violent, humiliating. Now I'm standing in the middle of a smoky kitchen, holding a salt container, wearing a shirt covered in egg, while the fire alarm announces to the entire neighborhood that I have failed as a man. That was the exact moment I gave up. I turned off the stove, I opened every window, I waved a towel at the alarm like that was supposed to help, and I sat down in complete silence. 5 minutes later, I ordered food, because sometimes growth means knowing your limits, and my limit, apparently, is breakfast. When the delivery guy arrived, he looked at me, then looked past me into the kitchen and paused for a second. Not a long pause, just long enough to judge me. He handed me the bag like he was helping a disaster victim. I took the food, sat at the table, and looked at the mess I had created. Burnt toast, broken shell, oil everywhere. One pan I no longer trusted. And that's when I learned something important. Cooking is not easy. Cooking is a skill, a real skill, and people who can cook without destroying their kitchen deserve way more respect than they get. Will I try cooking again? Maybe. But next time I'm starting with something safer, like water. Even though, knowing me, I'd probably burn that too.